Hello and welcome back. So in this lecture, let us discuss about various agreements under WTO. So there are a number of agreements, of which there are few which are very important in the examination point of view. The agreements like agreement on agriculture, trims, guards, this agreement on rule of origin, sanitary and phytosanitary measures, anti-dumping, subsidies and countervailing measures, trims, etc. So first let us discuss about the agreement on agriculture. So this agreement on agriculture, right, it aims at establishing a free trade in agriculture. The main aim is the elimination or minimization of the support system provided to agriculture, which actually distorts international trade. In fact, the negotiations under the agreement on agriculture are centered around three important issues. These three issues are market access, domestic support, and export competition. That's why these three issues are called as the three pillars of AOA, Agreement on Agriculture. So before just venturing into this agreement, we need to understand about the global agriculture. Then it will give us some input about what exactly is happening, why it is so hard to reach an agreement under Agreement on Agriculture. So broadly, right, global agriculture, we can divide this into two types. One is extensive agriculture, another one is intensive. Extensive agriculture means these are agriculture practiced in countries like United States of America, Canada, Brazil, Argentina, Australia, and even some part of the European steppes. Here, the land holdings will be very high. A single farmer will be holding few hundred acres of land. And there will be large scale mechanization. They will be using very minimum number of agricultural laborers. Even for from plowing, sowing, till application of fertilizers, pesticides, until harvesting and packing, everything is mechanized in extensive agriculture. On the other hand, intensive agriculture is largely practiced in the tropical countries in which are known for age-old civilizations like India, Southeast Asia, parts of China, etc., where land holding will be very less. Every single farmer here, right, may be holding somewhere around 2 acres, 3 acres. Even there are a number of marginal farmers who even hold less than an acre of land. And in these countries where intensive agriculture is practiced, there will be more number of agricultural laborers employed in the field, and there will be less mechanization. So here in these countries which practice intensive agriculture, agriculture is not exclusively meant for trade. Agriculture here is meant for subsistence. On the other hand, where extensive agriculture is practiced, agriculture is meant for trade. For countries like India and for most of the countries in Southeast Asia, agriculture is not meant for trade. Agriculture is meant for survival. Here there is a need that government should provide a number of support to the poor farmers. For example, in country like India, we are providing number of support to the farmers. And the wide range of support, right, includes direct support, directly providing subsidies to the farmers in the form of seed subsidy, fertilizer subsidy, and subsidized agricultural chemicals, etc. On the other hand, indirectly also we are providing number of subsidies. So we are providing free irrigation facility. In most of the states, they are also providing free electricity, and we are doing our country is doing lot of research in agriculture. ICAR is known for research in agriculture. They are having a number of research sessions spread across the length and breadth of the country, and we are not charging our farmers for this agricultural research. Apart from that, there is a need to protect our farmers also from the market fluctuations. So we have the minimum support price mechanism, so that the extraordinary price fluctuations due to overproduction will not affect the agricultural prices. Food security is the next very important issue. Even at market level, in India, we have PDS, public distribution system, where subsidized food is made available for the poor people. So these are the practices which actually affects the trade in agriculture. At a PDS shop, rice is available for 2 rupees, 5 rupees, 10 rupees. So somebody who is going to market their products, right? The actual market cost for paddy or wheat, rice or wheat, may be above 100 rupees or 150 rupees. So indirectly, right, government is providing subsidized food grains for the consumers, and even this may affect the trade. So these are the number of issues which are surrounding the agreement in agriculture. So keep in mind, in the developing countries, the tropics, mostly countries like India, Pakistan, or the countries in Southeast Asia, agriculture is not meant only for trade. Agriculture is meant for subsistence. So now let us discuss the three pillars of agreement on agriculture. One is market access. So that is one member country, to what extent they can provide access to other countries to do trade in agriculture. There are a number of agricultural commodities. So there are few commodities, right, where we can expect free trade. For example, coffee. We don't have small and marginal farmers indulging in coffee cultivation. Rubber, cocoa, pepper, spices, etc. So these market access deals with one country's access to another country for trade in agriculture. Domestic support is a very big issue which actually affects agriculture. As I told you, there are a number of the domestic support largely comes in the form of subsidies. So there are a number of ways by which a country provides a subsidy to the farmers, or how agriculture is being subsidized. And the subsidized agriculture is capable of distorting international trade in agriculture. So by providing a lot of subsidies to the farmers, we are actually cutting down the cost of production. By providing subsidized inputs, the input cost comes down by more than 70 or 80%. So the cost of production, suppose if the cost of production of 1 ton of rice, if that should be somewhere around 10,000 rupees or 10,000, 20,000 rupees. But because of heavy subsidies, our farmers are capable of producing it at just 4 or 5,000. So they can market, even if they market the product at 10,000, they get a profit. But the actual cost of production is about 20,000. So the domestic support which a country provides, these are broadly classified into 3 types: green box subsidies, blue box, and amber box. Green box subsidies are non-trade distorting subsidies. These are subsidies which are not paid directly to the farmers in the form of fertilizer subsidy, or in the form of seed subsidy, or input subsidy. So these are not trade distorting. So these are subsidies or subsidized inputs. For example, irrigation. So our government is constructing number of irrigational projects, multi-purpose dams, irrigational canals, and we are not charging our farmers for this. As I told you, ICAR and the state agricultural universities are involved in a number of research activities, and they are taking lot of pain to every year introduce a high yielding or a better quality crops. And our farmers are, we are not charging our farmers for this agriculture research. And these are also subsidies provided in agriculture. So these are green box subsidies. So green box subsidies are subsidies which are not directly paid to the farmers, and these are not trade distorting to some extent. Then the blue box subsidies. Blue box subsidies are production limiting subsidy. Production limiting subsidy. These type of subsidies, right, are found largely in the developed countries. For example, in Canada, there is one scheme called as Land Blank Scheme. So sometimes, right, if a government senses that it's going to be a overproduction in particular crop, so because of overproduction, if the prices are going to fall, then government, what they will do, they will just advise the farmers not to raise a crop in their field, and government will provide them that money. Suppose how much profit they are going to make, that government will be providing them. So this is one way of having a control over the prices, by controlling the production, controlling the output. Same is the case with the coffee plantations in Brazil. So coffee plantation in Brazil, right, again, suppose if there is a overproduction, this is one very important problem in agriculture. Drought, flood, less production, there will be a problem. A very good climate, a very good season, overproduction, very high yield, again there is a problem for the farmer. So see how sensitive this sector is. At the same time, the people who are involved in the agriculture are really so pathetic, and so we cannot say pathetic, actually they are but very much vulnerable, and we cannot just play in the life just by signing an agreement in agriculture. We cannot just allow free trade so easily in agriculture, because it's a matter of life for few million farmers in our country. So blue box subsidy, these are production limiting subsidy. And now hardly there are very few countries which are reporting that they are providing blue box subsidy. Countries like, there are few countries in European Union, Slovenia, and few small countries, right, they are only reporting that they are providing blue box subsidy. The next is the amber box subsidy. This is the trade distorting subsidy. These are subsidies which are directly paid to the farmers in the form of input subsidies. This distort the trade directly. And this is one particular thing which member countries need to address. In WTO, there is one provision called as a de minimis. So de minimis means this is the permitted amount of amber box subsidy. So it doesn't mean that we cannot just outrightly stop the subsidies, but as of now, right, the de minimis, it prescribes that in developed countries, de minimis, that is the permitted amount of amber box subsidy, may be up to 5% of the total cost of production, and in developing and least developed countries, it may be up to 10% of the total cost of production, but is not strictly followed by the member countries. So in a country like India, the subsidies may go even up to 30–40%. And there is also a provision, there is a separate agreement on sanitary and phytosanitary measures. So though there is a separate agreement which deals with the sanitary and phytosanitary measures, still under agreement of agriculture itself, right, the negotiations are on to arrive at some particular agreement on this. So this is something very important in trade in agriculture, because while importing or exporting a commodity by mistake, some very deadly pathogens may be exported to some other country. And few pathogens which are not so active in one particular environment may be hyperactive in some other environment, and we do not know it. There are many such instances in history where the pathogens ruined agriculture. For example, the rust in coffee. The rust pathogen, right? We have imported this pathogen from Sri Lanka. And under Indian condition, the rust became a very severe disease. And there was a time when the coffee plantations and the entire South India was about to be ruined. Thanks to our scientists, they managed to produce some varieties which showed some resistance to the rust disease. Same is the case with the red rot of sugarcane. So if you break open the sugar cane, you can see some red color patches inside the grain. But nowadays, we do not find those things because now we have developed some varieties which shows extraordinary resistance to the red rot of sugar cane. But there was a time when this particular disease was about to ruin the entire sugar industry in South India. Close to around 80% of the sugar mills were closed down. But thanks to once again our agriculture research scientists, they managed to develop a red rot resistant variety of sugarcane, and once again, right, the sugar mills in South India got a life because of that. So there is always a need to keep a check on the phytosanitary measures while exporting the agricultural products. So every member country, they prescribe that suppose if they want to export or they want to import a particular commodity, agricultural commodity from a particular country, they'll prescribe. So your crop should be free from these following diseases and pest. Okay. Though it is mentioned that countries need to minimize the support which they are providing under amber box. There are number of subsidies which are permitted under this. This includes, right, also general services like say research services, pest and disease control, early warning system. Last year there was one locust attack in North India. So locusts are nothing but grasshoppers, but when they breed in large numbers in the Thar desert and generally in desert areas, and they are capable of marching for some time. And once when they start flying, we can see as if a cloud is passing, and they are capable of ruining villages together in a matter of hours. So we have an elaborate warning system for the locust. In Jodhpur, we have one headquarters for the locust warning organization, locust warning station, where they have set up number of stations to monitor the large-scale breeding of grasshoppers. So these type of activities are permitted under WTO. There is no, that too for countries like poor countries, as developing countries like India, there is a need to provide this type of adequate support to our farmers. Then training services, extension and advisory services, inspection services, marketing and promotion services, and even the infrastructure services, including providing electricity or irrigation canal or thrashing floor for the farmers. These are subsidized, and these subsidies are permitted under WTO. Similarly, even public stock holding for food security purpose. We better know about the Great Bengal famine. The Great Bengal famine, right? It costed close to around 2 million lives in Bengal, Bihar, and Orissa. It was not just because of a shortage of food grains. We didn't have adequate mechanism for a distribution system, an exchange system where we can distribute the commodities produced in other parts of the country in the much needed area. Before even the government could think about distributing the food grains from other regions, the situation reached a catastrophic level where millions perished because of starvation and a number of associated diseases. So there is always a need for public stockholding of food grains. We have a public stockholding policy even where how much buffer stock they are supposed to maintain in a particular year. So Food Corporation of India, they are maintaining the buffer stock of rice, wheat and pulses in the number of warehouses situated across the length and breadth of our country. Then domestic food aid, there is a need for countries like India to provide domestic food aid, and these are permitted under WTO. Even government financial participation in income insurance and income safety net programs. So there is a huge question mark about the minimum support price and its compatibility with the WTO. This is one very important issue in current affairs. This will be discussing subsequently. So minimum support price and its compatibility with the WTO. So there is a provision which says that these are permitted. And payment for relief from natural disorders, then payment under environmental programs, so payment under regional, these all are permitted. And one important thing in agreement on agriculture is, so agreement on agriculture, apart from trade in agriculture, it also deals with a few non-trade issues. Few non-trade issues. These are issues related to food security and the environment. So these are the issues in agriculture, and in WTO member countries are still continuing to negotiate on various terms under agreement on agriculture, and hope let us just follow these news. Using the inputs which I have given, right? Hopefully it will be easy for us to follow the news in the current affairs. So in the next lecture, to discuss about TRIPS, trade related aspects of the agreement on trade related aspects of intellectual property rights. So what is an intellectual property? So what do you mean by product patent? What is process patent? And again here there is one very important issue in current affairs, that is issues related to the pharmaceutical patents and pharmaceuticals. So that we will discuss in our next lecture. So until then, thank you.